Percy Jackson is known for having some of the coolest fights in fiction. I mean, these action scenes are what makes Percy Jackson one of the most popular and best sold series out there. So today, I'm gonna rank the best fights in each Percy Jackson book, from the Lightning Thief all the way to the Last Olympian. The Lightning Thief is home to some awesome battles. Percy vs Miss Dodds, Percy vs the Minotaur, Percy vs Medusa, but there's really no competition here. Percy vs the War God Ares is something straight out of a movie, but the movies left this fight out for some reason. After finding out that Ares had set Percy up as the Lightning Thief, Percy challenges him to a duel on the beach. As a 12-year-old demigod with little experience, Percy does surprisingly well, using his sword training from Luke as well as letting the sea enhance his strength, speed, and reflexes. Percy rides wave after wave, slashing from every angle before stunning Ares with a 6-foot wave and landing a clean strike on his heel. Although Kronos then called Ares out of the battle, this was still the most suspenseful and exciting fight in the whole book, and Percy definitely won. The final battle against the Cyclops Polyphemus takes the cake for the Sea of Monsters. First, starting out in the Cyclops cave, Percy, Grover, and Clarice perform a really cool collaborative attack, using Plan Macedonia from their camp combat training. They manage to run all the way to the opposite side of the Cyclops island before Tyson appears, his attack pushing Polyphemus from the cliff they were standing on. Unfortunately, as the group makes their way back to the beach to escape by boat, Polyphemus once again shows up. Tyson and Percy team up to hold off the Cyclops long enough to give the rest time to escape. Percy once again uses the power of the sea, riding waves and performing precise attacks on the enemy, and in the end, Tyson and Percy decide to spare Polyphemus and escape with the rest of the group. The introduction of Nico and Bianca D'Angelo and the Hunters of Artemis was bound to give this book some incredible moments. The most incredible, though, is the fight between Percy and the Titan General Atlas. As the group arrives on Mount Othrys, Thalia immediately charges Luke, while Percy and Zoe team up against Atlas, Percy trying to get in close where his sword would have the advantage. This fight is also home to one of the most iconic moments in Percy Jackson, Percy holding the weight of the sky. We get to see Artemis go head-to-head with Atlas, an Olympian versus a Titan, and we even get to see Annabeth's father mow down enemies with machine guns on his biplane. I also have to mention another amazing moment in the Titan's Curse, and that was when Nico found out Bianca had died, and his powers were awakened for the first time. Who would have thought an 8-year-old mythomagic lover would be able to split the ground and send skeleton enemies straight to the underworld out of nowhere? I guess this wasn't really amazing though, it was actually pretty sad, but it was still pretty cool. You know what I mean. I don't want to see any complaints in the comments because we can all agree that the best fight in the Battle of the Labyrinth was Percy versus Ethan Nakamura, right? Just kidding. I doubt most of you even remember that fight happened. The actual best fight in the book was Percy fighting off hordes of Telkhines in Mount St. Helens. Percy was pushed to his absolute limit. His body was on fire, literally, from the Telkhines throwing lava at him, and he was completely alone. In a desperate last attempt at survival, we got a taste of Percy's true power as he summoned the power of the sea. Mind you, there was no river, ocean, or seashell around. He summoned it from inside of him and caused an explosion powerful enough to awaken Typhon. Honorable mention to Nico's fight against Minos, where he kills his bad influences and becomes the Ghost King. 90% of The Last Olympian is action scenes, so it's hard to pick just one, but here we go. First of all, I have to mention Percy's fight against Hades in the underworld. Percy had just come out of the River Styx. He had invincibility, and this was probably the most powerful version of Percy in all the books, besides maybe when he was in Tartarus. Percy literally charged the god of the underworld and 100 of his best skeleton warriors, summoned tidal waves from the River Styx, and tackled Hades out of his chariot. I also want to give a mention to the entire battle in Manhattan, so basically the whole book. There are moments that had me on the edge of my seat, like when Nico and Hades showed up last minute with an army of dead soldiers, or when Paul Blofeld took up the sword against Kronos' army. There was also that time when Percy fought the Minotaur. Mr. Minotaur must have been shocked that this was the same kid he fought 5 years ago as he got tossed off the bridge they were fighting on. Another great fight was when Poseidon showed up with Tyson to save the Olympians and defeat Typhon. But I'd say the best fight was the one we've been waiting for 5 books, Percy versus Kronos. The fighting choreography itself was pretty cool, but the suspense and build up to this fight really made it memorable. Not to mention the emotional side of the fight with Luke and his promise to Annabeth.